New York City, Massachusetts, but also Australia, as well as New Zealand, have started to develop this alternative way of financing social programs by relying on Wall Street investors, financiers to buy bonds that they hope will reap them a better return if they invest in a program that evaluates well. The standard model is one where the government turns to a private entity, sometimes a nonprofit, to prepare a prospectus that describes a social welfare program, then sell the prospectus to prospective buyers on Wall Street. They rely on a Wall Street firm like Goldman Sachs is very prominent in getting involved in this, and they sell the shares to prospective investors who see it as an alternative form of investment that actually might reap a higher return if the program is deemed to have been successful. Reducing recidivism of the people coming out of prison going back, or the likelihood of them achieving certain milestones that make them more employable and reintegrate into society and so on, such as graduating from high school or developing a trade or a skill, or just say overcoming an addiction. And so we see in this area, those are the kind of benchmarks. The reason I think governments are interested in this is, one is they're broke. They don't have any money, people don't want to pay more taxes, but also these are experimental programs that governments, even if they had money, might be leery of investing in. They don't know if they're really going to work. They're usually programs that have evaluated well on a pilot level, and so they're willing to take a chance, but they seek alternative funding as a way of testing an experiment. There's growing philosophy in the corporate sector in what's called Philanthro-capitalism, this idea that capitalism needs to give back in order to help society move along. It shouldn't be that it just takes and wins and benefits from, say, growing inequality and more unemployment and so on and so forth. It should turn around and pay back for a lot of obvious reasons. One is, in the long run, that's not going to work if you just benefit and everybody else loses. Secondly, it's a way of creating a stronger economy. You'll have more workers, more productive participants in the economy, people with more purchasing power, so on and so forth. So from a long-run view, this kind of philanthro-capitalism makes a lot of sense. My concern is I don't really know that government really necessarily needs to be seen as broke. It's just there's a lot of opposition to funding traditional social welfare programs. And so we're resorting to this rather than deal with that opposition. I also am concerned that once you bring in the corporate sector and they're calling the shots as to like what programs they want to invest in, it really, I think, is another example of how capitalism is trumping democracy these days. Rather than us, the citizens, the taxpayers, the voters, deciding what programs should be funded or not, it's now the corporate sector is playing a larger role. I mean, Australia is like innovative in this regard, in terms of, like I said, PPPs, cross-border public-private partnerships that involve bringing the corporate sector into the state, whether it's through social impact bonds for financing or through contracting or whether it's Philanthro-capitalism, trying to get more of the corporate sector to finance the public provision of services, or whether it's just the general idea of like using benchmarks or indicators to assess performance and only pay for success, as the Obama administration calls it. These are ideas that are like being championed, pioneered here in Australia. And it was one of the main reasons I wanted to come here.